All right.
Om
Om Jnanatimurandasya Ganangana Shalakaya Chakshulanabham Dina Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Vandeham Shri Guru Shriyata Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavam Cha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raganatam Tam Satrivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sayatam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitam Cha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namosuste Tapta Kantana Gaurange Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sudadevi Prananami Hari Hariye Vanchakalpa Tirubrasta Kripa Sindhu Padevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Shri Gaur Bhaktivinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, thank you for joining in and making yourself available on this Sunday evening, cold Sunday evening, cold, dark and grey Sunday evening. We are reading the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2, Chapter 5. Chapter 5 is the cause of all causes, and the text for today, Prabhuji, is text 33 and 34. Prabhuji, would you like to read, me to read the Sanskrit?
Yes, please.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Vasudevaya. Om Namo
Om
Bhagavate
Bhagavate
Vasudevaya.
Vasudevaya.
Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram
Nityam
Chaivam Narottamam Devi
Antrayataruttama
Saraswati
Devim Saraswatim
Vyasam
Vyasam
Tato Jayati Virate Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam
Shubhadreshu
Bhagavata Sevaya.
Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya.
Canto 2, Chapter 5, Text 33. Tada samhatya chanoyam bhagavan chati chodita sad ashnavam padaya bhovyam sansrujarhi tada, all those. Samhatya, being assembled.
Being assembled.
Cha,
Cha,
also. Anyanam, one
Anyam,
another.
one another.
Bhagavat,
Bhagavat,
by the personality of Godhead. Shakti, energy. Chodita, being applied. Sat Ashtava, primary and secondary. Upadaya, accepting. Cha, also. Ubhyam, both. Sas came into existence. He, certainly. Pada, this universe. Should I read the translation and purport? Hare Krishna.
Yes, unless someone else would like to do that.
Would anybody like to read the translation and purport of text 33 today? Prabhuji, I can read translation. Thus, when all these became assembled by the force of energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, this universe certainly came into being by accepting both primary and secondary causes of creation. Purport by Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. In this verse, it is clearly mentioned that the Supreme Personality of Godhead exerts his different energies in the creation. It is not that he himself is transformed into material creations. He expands himself by his different energies, as well as by his plenary portions. In the corner of the spiritual sky of the Brahmajyoti, a spiritual cloud sometimes appears, and the covered portion is called Mahatattva. The Lord then, by his planetary portion as Mahavishnu, lies down within the water of the Mahatattva, and the water is called causal ocean, Karana Jala. When Mahavishnu sleeps within the causal ocean, insummable universes are generated along with his breathing. These universes are floating and they are scattered all over the causal ocean. They stay only during the breathing period of Mahavishnu. In each and every stay, only during the breathing period of Mahavishnu. In each and every universe globe, the same Mahavishnu enters again at the Garbhodakshaya Vishnu and lies there on the serpent-like Sesha incarnation. From his navel sprouts a lotus stem, and on the lotus, Brahma, the Lord of the universe, is born. Brahma creates all forms of living being of different shapes in the terms of different desires within the universe. He also creates the sun, moon, and the other demigods. Therefore, the chief engineer of material creation is the Lord himself, as confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita 9.10. It is he only who directs the material nature to produce all sorts of moving and non-moving creatures. There are two modes of material creation: the creation of collective universes, as stated above, done by Mahavishnu, and the creation of the single universe. Both are done by the Lord, and thus the universal shape, as we see, takes place. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Should we read the next text or we stop here and discuss?
Yeah, let's read the next one. So maybe
Hare
someone
Krishna.
else would like to do them.
Hare Krishna, would anybody like to read the next text, text 34?
Hare Krishna Mataji, I can read.
Okay. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Text 34. Varshapuga sahasrante tad
Ashrante
andam udake
tadandam udake
shayam
shayam
kala karma
kalakarma
swabhavasto
sabhavasto
jivo jivanam
jivo jivam
ajivayat.
ajivaya.
Varshapuga, many years.
Many
Sahasrante, of thousands of years.
thousands of
Tat,
years.
that,
Tat,
andam, the
tat,
universal globe. Udake, in the causal
okay,
water.
kosha,
Shayam, being drowned.
being drowned.
Kala, eternal time.
Kala,
Karma,
eternal time.
action. Svabhavastha, according
Sabhavasta,
to the modes of
according to the
nature.
modes of nature.
Jiva, the Lord of
Jiva,
living
the Lord
beings.
of living beings.
Ajivam,
Ajiva, non-animated.
non-animated. Ajivayat,
Ajivaya, caused to
caused
be
to be
animated.
animated. Translation. Thus, all the universes remained thousands of eons within the water, the causal ocean, and the Lord of living beings entering in each of them caused them to be fully animated. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada ki Jai. The Lord is described here as the Jiva because He is the leader of all the Jivas, living entities. In the Vedas, He is described as the Nitya, the leader of all the Nityas. The Lord's relation with the living entities is like that of a father and with the sons. The sons and the father are qualitatively equal, but the father is never the son, nor the son is ever the father who begets. So, as described above, the Lord as Garbhodakashai Vishnu or Hiranyagarbha super soul enters into each and every universe and causes it to be animated by begetting the living entities within the womb of the material nature. As confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita 14.3, after each annihilation of the material creation, all the living entities are merged within the body of the Lord. And after creation, they are again impregnated within the material energy. In material existence, therefore, the material energy is seemingly the mother of the living entities, and the Lord is the father. When, however, the animation takes place, the living entities revive their own natural activities under the spell of time and energy, and thus varieties of living beings are manifested. The Lord, therefore, is ultimately the cause of all animation in the material world. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, over to you.
Hare Krishna. All glories to His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. So we're continuing to hear Srimad Bhagavatam, just as The sages of Naimisharanya are hearing from Shanaka Rishi, who is, as we know, reciting the conversation between Shukadev Goswami and Maharaj Pariksit. As we glorify in the beginning, this is our chief process. Nasta Parayeshu Bhajeshu, Nityam Bhagavata Sevya, to Nityam, to continuously, always be hearing about the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And we understand this is not an intellectual endeavor so much. To be in the Krishna Katha is spiritual sound. Even we don't have to understand. Just the sound vibration itself is purifying. We don't need to know anything about fire to get burned. We just put our hand on the fire, and it doesn't matter what we're thinking, we get burned. So the same thing with the Shabda Brahman. Although we are instructed that there is a difference of purifying effect according to our inner mentality. Always there's purification. But the more we have the bhakti, the more we are conscious of what we're doing, the more we have the intent of serving Krishna. This service attitude, what is that verse about serving Krishna? That we serve Krishna, Swayameva Surat Yada. That service to Krishna begins with the tongue. And it is this attitude of service, as Lord Krishna explains, which captures his attention. Atashi Krishna Namani Nababen Gram Indraya Sevan Mukhe Hijivado Swayam Eva Surat Yada. Service. We see in this world how effective it is between people when one human renders service to another, whether it's a mother or father to the child or the child to the parents, between man and woman, between friends. The service, of course, attracts our attention when someone does something for us. It means they care about us. Otherwise, why are they? They may be motivated, perhaps, to get something, but they want us. They want to be in a relationship with us. Whatever their motives, they value us. Just like a man brings some flowers to a woman or some candy or something, or some gift. So obviously he's interested. What the motivation is, that's a different discussion, but there's interest. So same with Krishna, the Parama Purusha, the Supreme Person. He's attracted by our bhakti, by our seva. Atashi Krishna Namadi Namanan ground Iva Indraya Seva Mukhe Hijivado. So when we chant our japa, when we hear about Krishna with the intent of wanting to please him or please our spiritual master, to know him, this is bhakti, pure and pure bhakti. There are many indications in the narratives in Srimad Bhagavatam that someone who listens, just like the story of Lord Varaha, there are 2 or 3 verses that one who listens to this will be successful on the battlefield. At the time of death, if one listens to it, one will return home back to Godhead. Anyone who listens to the narrative becomes free of sins. So this there are many side benefits for offering Krishna service. So this is our Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya, and of course this is what we're doing. So this chapter, the cause of all causes, chapter 5, is describing. We're hearing about for one thing, the power, how great Krishna is. Text 33, thus when all of these became assembled by the force of the energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, this universe certainly came into being. So Srila Prabhupada, in the purport, clearly mentioned that the Supreme Personality of Godhead exerts his different energies. He expands himself by his different energies as well as by his plenary portions. In a corner of the spiritual sky's Brahma Jyoti, a spiritual cloud sometimes appears, and the covered portion is called the Mahatattva. The Lord then, by his plenary portion as Mahavishnu, lies down within the water of the Mahatattva. Has everyone been to a beach? Anyone who has not visited a beach? Anyone? We've all been, or at least we have seen. So how many grains of sand are there? Forget about looking to the left or the right. When you walk on the beach and you're looking straight ahead, if you look down, how many grains of sand are there? A lot of grains. You think of, you take your salt shaker at home, the salt, and you pour it on the table. Can we count all the grains of salt? So many. And I imagine that there, not everywhere, but when we go outside of the city into the country at night, there, is it so in Kenya? If you look up at the sky on a clear night, just unlimited stars, yes? Is that true? Just filled with stars. Of course, in London, if you look up, we don't see so many stars because of the light, but they're there. And if you're out in the country area and it's very dark, right? Millions of stars. You know, the Milky Way, has everyone noticed the band? Sometimes you can see the band. It's a thick band of stars. Milky Way. So, and then, so all of those are stars. And then at least the uh, astronomers are telling us that just as our sun has planets, all of those or many of those stars also have planets. And Srila Prabhupada has said there's millions and millions of planets, millions. Has anyone not seen? I think everyone has. You see it in school, right? The solar system. We have the sun and then the Mercury and the Venus and Earth, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. And then you go out beyond that into the interstellar area. Everyone has seen that. So imagine, let's all imagine, if we don't have too many pressing things to think about. Think about standing on the planet Saturn, or imagine you're in some spaceship on the planet Saturn and you're looking at Earth. You're on the planet Saturn and you're looking towards Earth, just like behind me, there's this sun. So imagine you're looking, and then you're looking past Jupiter and Mars and the moon, and then finally there's the Earth, and then on the Earth you go down, down, down. Finally, you see Africa, you see the UK, right? And then you see the city, Nairobi, London, Paris, all these things. And then you look further down, all the houses, right? When you travel on the plane, we see all the houses. Or before we, at least from some distance, you can see a country. You can see up above the city and then all the light. And then in one of those houses, that's where we are, one of those flats. Me, Arya Govinda, all of us were in some flat in this one city, on one continent, on this gigantic earth which is spinning around and is going around the sun. So here we are, we're on Saturn, and we're just looking way in the distance at this little tiny spot, which is Earth. And this is just one solar system out of millions of sets of suns and planets. We're pretty small, right? So small, really. We're so like ants, right? We look at the ants. You look, right? There's so many thousands of ants on the ant hill, maybe more. And they're very tiny, aren't they? I mean, what can they imagine about the whole Earth? And we're like ants, aren't we, compared to the big universe? What do we know? So big. And this is just one solar system. And then you go beyond Pluto and the interstellar, you go into the different parts of what they call the Milky Way galaxy, where we are. And then you go beyond the galaxy, you can see other galaxies. There's thousands and thousands of these galaxies, universe. You could call them universes. Uh, and it's interesting that although so small, we are so, we're not, our bodies aren't even as big as an elephant or a tree, so small. And yet things seem so big to us, right? Same time. Actually, one time, one perspective, we're just specks of sand in the universe, aren't we? But at the same time, we do have relative strength, isn't it? You know, compared, like you have all these ants. So one ant is a little bit faster, one ant is a little brighter, a brighter bulb. Another one is bigger. So we all have relative strengths. And the things that are happening in our life seem so big, don't they? Right in front of our face, there's things, you know, our families and the government and other people and our headache, things we have to do and other people's difficulties. And it seems so close and big and significant. And in one sense, it is significant for us as little ants. They are things that uh, we have to sort out. We have to sort through. But at the same time, so insignificant, really, in the big scheme of the universe. And as we're hearing, think about this. All of these grains of sand of stars we see up in the sky, all the millions and millions of planets that float around, it's all coming from Krishna, described here. And all of this, if you go on the internet and you look, search uh, images of galaxies, you'll see looking out in space, thousands of these galaxies. And all of this is just uh, a little corner of the spiritual sky. Now that's something to think about. All of this, it's so big. We're standing near the planet Saturn looking at this Earth way over there. And it's just a little tiny corner of the eternal spiritual sky. So this is the uh, Dhyaninath Tattva Darshana, um, the realized information about Krishna, that there is Krishna in the spiritual sky with hundreds of expansions on different spiritual planets, just like we see the planets in the sky. So there are spiritual planets. And the Brahma Jyoti, which is a spiritual cloud So just like we look outside the window right now, we see well, maybe it's dark, but we see the dark sky. Or in the daytime, we see, just like behind me, we see the sky. So there's spiritual sky. And it's never destroyed, as Lord Krishna describes in the um, 8th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Lord Krishna says that spiritual nature, it is never destroyed. Let's find that um, in the 8th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. 8th chapter. Well, that's a good place to begin. Chapter 8 of Bhagavad Gita. After attaining me, the great souls who are yogis in devotion never return to this temporary world, which is full of miseries, because they have attained the highest perfection. From the highest planet down to the lowest, all are places of misery, where repeated birth and death take place. But one who attains to my abode, O son of Kunti, never takes birth again. By human calculation, 1,000 ages taken together form Brahma's one day, and such also is the duration of his night. At the beginning of Brahma's day, all living entities become manifest from the unmanifest, and when the night falls, they are merged into the unmanifest again. Again and again, when Brahma's day arrives, all living entities come into being, and with the arrival of Brahma's night, they are helplessly annihilated. Yet there is another unmanifest nature which is eternal and is transcendental to this manifested and unmanifested matter. It is supreme, and it is never annihilated. When all in this world is annihilated, that part remains as it is. So this connects, of course, with what we're hearing today in Srimad Bhagavatam pretty closely in this verse. And then in the next verse, Vashra Puga Sahasrante Tad Andam Utake Shayam Kala Karma Svabhavasto Jivo Jivam Ajivayat. That thus all the universes remain thousands of eons within the water of the causal ocean, and the Lord of living beings entering into each of them caused them to become fully animated. So Srila Prabhupada goes on to explain to us the Lord is described as a jiva because he's the leader of all other jivas. The Lord's relation with the living entities is like that of the father with the sons, or the sons with the father with the daughters. The sons and father are qualitatively equal, but the father is never the son. So as described above, the Lord as Garbhodakshai Vishnu enters into each and every universe and causes it to become animated by begetting the living entities within the womb of the material nature. After each annihilation, all the living entities are merged in the body of the Lord, and after creation, they are again impregnated within the material energy. So we've been around a long time. Sometimes it seems right for us that when is this day going to end? When is the week going to end? It's such a long day. But here is described that after some 311 trillion years, I think it is, or 611, when Lord Brahma, everything is wound up within Lord Mahavishnu. We stay within the body of Lord Mahavishnu for some time, a long time. And then again, we come out, we wake up, we are put into another material universe. And Srila Prabhupada writes, when, however, the animation takes place, the living entities revive their own natural activities. So that doesn't mean natural doesn't mean our original, but natural in the sense that whatever our karma is, someone wanted to do this, someone wanted to do that, just like we wake up in the morning, isn't it? And we remember, oh, I have this appointment, this thing to do, that thing to do. So we're born, isn't it? We're born in a particular family and we're 2, 3, 4, 5 years old. And then, oh, I want to play music. I want to dance. I want to be doctor. I want to, whatever it is, do, right? We get attracted. So as we know, Lord Krishna explains, Prakriti Kriyamana Gunai Karmani Sarvasha Ahankaram Vimudatma Kartaham Iti Manyate in the third chapter, that Prakriti Kriyamanani Gunai Karmani Sarvasha Ahankara, that under illusion we think we're doing alone. I want to do this thing. I have to do this thing. I am a mother. I am a father. I must do these things. I want to do these things. Um, I've read some book about karma or something that, as an example, in America, there were these two presidents a long time ago. One was this one called Nixon, and then another one, Johnson, Lyndon B. Johnson. And it's described that at an early age, 6, 7 years, I'm going to be president. Yes, yes, that early. Yes, I'm going to be president. They felt it. And they lived their life making choices as best as they could so that they could achieve that desire. Some people in astrology, I'll just share a little bit in a horoscope, there are uh, different, what they call houses, different parts of a chart, like a circle, 12 parts. And some of these parts are called Dharma houses, houses of work. So some people have very strong Dharma houses and they know what they want to do. They have places to go, things to do. They have a more fixed goal. And then we see other people, they're kind of all over the place. I don't know what I really want to do. I'm not sure. So it means that their dharma, their karma, astrologically, their dharma houses are not as strong. So these two people, this Nixon and Johnson, such karma from their last life that very fixed, focused. So, but Prakriti Kriya Manani, they could not do anything other than being a president, almost. They're thinking, I want to be a president, or I want to uh, work in this way or that way. I want to have this. Uh, Sarvasa Jahambidi Sani Basta, Mata Smiter Gyanam Apahonam Cha. These desires, they come because of our past life, or they don't come. Sometimes people are like, some humans, some of us are like vegetables or half vegetables, and sometimes they have to live in assisted living. It is as if they're empty inside. It's just there's nothing really going on. They have nowhere to go, nothing to see. They're just sitting in the chair looking out in space because of their past karma. Uh, Deyanosminyatadehe kamanam yovanam jala tadadiyantara praptir dearest tata namuyate. We are the soul, the jayate, mirate, vakarachim. I am Budva Babitaha. We have no birth, we have no death. Asangoyam Purusha. We are different than this body. Um, what's that verse? Is it in the 15th chapter? Yantar Rudra, that verse, Yantar Rudrani Maya. Is that it? Sarvasukambidi Sani Basta Mata Smita Gyonam. No, that's not it. There's another verse that Yantar Rudrani Maya, that we are all riding on a machine made of material energy, and we are identifying. It's like we're watching a movie. Like I'm sure all of us maybe have seen movies, You're watching the movie. So sometimes we identify with a certain character and we feel it, don't we? You know, when the character has success or the character gets hurt, we kind of feel it. So we are identifying with these bodies and with these minds, and we're all we're caught up in it. I am so and so. This is my family. This is my country. I am this. I am that. I have this thing to do. And we do, in a sense. I mean, it's not totally false, but it's like an external movie that we're caught up in. This is these are my parents. This is my friends. This is my children. And in one sense, they are, but in another sense, they're not, right? This is the reality. Maybe last life, I was the mother of my mother. Maybe my child was my father. Yes, or uncle. We don't know. Uh, so this is Krishna consciousness, part of Krishna consciousness. So big consciousness, isn't it? Such expanded, wide consciousness, awareness, super consciousness, isn't it? To have this awareness, it is phenomenal. It is amazing. And it is our original, it is reality. It's not just we're imagining. So that's all very nice, but what's the use of it? I still have, I still have to pay my rent. I still have to go to work. I have to pay for my car. My son needs this. My wife needs this. Company. It doesn't change all that, does it? We wish, don't we? I wish that somehow all of it would go away somehow. And and it was just easy, right? We wish. And even Lord Krishna says, doesn't he, that one reason that people take to spiritual is because we want relief from distress, which is understandable. But doesn't it give us some some distance that yes, this thing is going on, but it's 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 not really my original life and something I have to deal with as best as I can, but it's like a movie, and I'm trying my best to move things in the best way, but it is so much out of our control, is it not? Is it not? That's why I was thinking about how small we are, so small. Uh, because of our past activities, the challenges come. We don't ask for them. I mean, there are some crazy people, but generally people don't look for flu. They don't look for headaches. They don't look for losing a job. They don't look for children who are making the wrong decisions. We don't. Who wants that? But it comes, doesn't it? And then also what we say are happy things come our way, happy times. They also come, don't they? Without our making an effort, sometimes they just come, you know. Um, and no matter how much we try to change something, often it's just impossible. Because prakriti kriyamana ani gunai karmani sarvasya, or as Lord Krishna says, Davihi esha gunamayi, this material nature and everything that's going on, it's going on under my will, just like we heard in the 8th chapter, that by the will of Krishna, everything is going on, which doesn't mean that he wants it, but it just means that ultimately he is behind everything. And if something is meant to be, there's nothing we can do. There is nothing. What that verse, I don't know the Hindi, but if Krishna with 10 hands wants to take, what can you do? And if Krishna with his 10 hands wants to give you, we cannot hold it all. So like this. So we are very tiny, and although we are responsible, we can't say, well, it's just God's will and it just there's nothing I can do. We are obliged by religion. It is religious, it is Krishna conscious to be responsible. We must make our best effort to protect uh, all those that we are supposed to protect to our best ability. And if it doesn't work out, then we are not at fault. We are not. Everyone has their path karma to work through. You know, whether it's the prime minister or the neighbor, our parents, our children, ourself, our husband, everyone is, as described in this verse, at the beginning of creation, we are all manifest again. We are put into different bodies, and then, you know, the lights turn on and the business starts. The show starts. And all we can do is aim for Krishna, as Lord Krishna says, from the highest planet to the lowest planet, there's no relief. There is never going to be a perfect eternal time here, which is disappointing. But it's important to accept that, to understand this, that then we won't be as disappointed because this isn't the place for things to be good and go nicely all the time. It's not. So once then, oh, okay. Well, then if something goes wrong, was I expecting something different? So from the point of wisdom, that is to be naive. And it's not meant to be depressing or scary, but it's just the reality. We belong just as a fish belongs in the ocean swimming happy. So we belong in the spiritual world, in our eternal spiritual bodies, all of us, with none of these difficulties, no death, no birth, no old age, no government officers demanding taxes paid, no college tuitions to pay, no men and women trying to dwindle us or cheat us, or none of these things. No material bodies that you have to feed and clothe. Wow. Can we imagine that? You don't have to worry about eating. Well, we do eat, but we don't have to. And you can eat as much as you want without a stomachache. Now that's something to look forward to. We can have as much sandesha and burfi and laddu as we want. No stomachache, no cavities. Can you imagine? No teeth pain. That sounds good to me. No toothaches. So this is wonderful to meditate on, is it not? Uh, so Lord Krishna says, right, Sarvadhamma priyajamam ekam sharanam vraja, that if you surrender unto me, if you hear me, if you understand my Gita, you will become free from the miseries of life. So this is our understanding, and we can experience this the more we are truly Krishna conscious. At least a significant amount of the pain will become less because it will be at a distance and it will be in perspective. That yes, this past 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, 5 months, oh, it's difficult. But what's that? What's 5 years, 10 years out of eternity, out of 100 years, out of 1,000 years? And if we are with Krishna in our heart, Machita Makata Prana, Bodhiantas Parasparam, this is our spiritual joy. Um, we see Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Lord Nityananda, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, his body was constantly sick. There is an autobiography, which is amazing. And he writes about his life. So many difficulties, so many episodes of chronic disease. And he'd have to travel and find this doctor and that doctor. and his family and his because he had big family, Srila Bhaktivinoda. He wasn't floating in the sky somewhere on some clouds in Vrindavan. He's like us. He had big family, 10 children, I think. And he was working as a school teacher originally. That's how he started teaching in school, elementary, middle, college. And then he got government job and he was working every day, working, and suffering. He had bad tooth pains sometimes. But that was one level. We hear that within, and by his right, and when he writes, if we understand this, that he wasn't just, well, he had an easy life, Krishna made everything nice. No, 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 no. Great struggle. And so when he writes his prayers and his poetry and his different books, there are several books of his prayers where he pours out his heart. Um, when he takes shelter of the divine names of Krishna, and he takes shelter of bhajan, glorifying Krishna, and he describes how my miseries, they just go far away, and I feel like I'm swimming in an ocean of joy, spiritually, in his spiritual identity. So the things were going on, all those things, but within this higher awareness and experience. And so it was not the same as without that. So Sarvadhamma Priyaja Mamekam Shara. So if you surrender unto me, surrender unto my Gita, surrender unto my holy name, then I will free you from so much suffering. And at the end of this life, you'll come to me. So, oh, but I'm still suffering. But we have our minimized react. I mean, we can't expect uh, nothing. There will be pinching, pinching, pinching. What can we do? We have these material bodies. But we are so, I think, we are so fortunate to at least have some uh, headache relief, painkiller. We don't, our painkiller is not the cocaine or the fentanyl, the marijuana, these things. These things they're just so temporary. Or alcohol. They don't last long. And then afterwards, you don't feel good. And there's so many troubles. But there's no illegal thing for Harinam. There's no illegal thing for uh, burying burying our consciousness and hearing about Lord Mahavishnu and the spiritual world and all the universes and standing on the planet Saturn and looking at Earth. There's nothing illegal about that. And Machita Makata Prana Bodhiyantas Parasparam. That is the happiness of the devotees. Yes, being in touch with Krishna. That is our relief. That is our solace. Especially some of us have the opportunity to visit the holy places or stay in the temple for some time. And we can really have the opportunity to deeply feel and connect with Krishna. So when we go on to our usual daily life, we can feel recharged. Recharged, yes. We have to charge ourselves. When we feel like things are too overwhelming, perhaps we need to take uh, more time. We have to put ourselves alone, tell sorry, I'm going to be alone all afternoon. I just want to hear about Krishna. I just want to chant some japa. Just leave me for some time. So we are, of course, so blessed, so incredibly fortunate to have the association of Srila Shukadev Goswami, Narada Muni, Maharaj Pariksit, and of course, even more, our own Srila Prabhupada and the other Vaishnava acharyas and our current mentors and senior devotees who are, and all of us together, we gather together to feel Krishna. Just like, not just like, but the gopis also, right? If we remember in Vrindavan when Lord Krishna went away to Mathura and Vrindavan, they would gather together and they would talk about Krishna, how Krishna did this, Krishna did that, and Krishna's this and Krishna's that. And they felt bad, but they felt also relief by the Krishna Katha. That is our shelter. And Krishna's advice, matra sparshas takantaya shitoshna shukudukuda, right? We must learn to tolerate the things that come and go, not try to uh, think that we can change everything. Rather, we have to just let it come and let it go. Uh, Try to practice neutrality. Yeah, I know when I experience suffering from my body, uh, which I do, of course, um, it's an opportunity to practice just letting it be, not trying to make it go away necessarily. As Lord Krishna says in 14th chapter, don't hate it, don't like it, just let it be and put your mind in me and put your mind in your um, devotional service um, at a distance, at a distance. It's over there. It's not me, ultimately, all of this. I'm standing, I'm in a little spaceship by Saturn, and I'm looking at Earth. Sometimes I do that. That's why I bring that up. Um, just to remind myself of perspective or anything, whatever works for any of us. Put yourself on the moon and look at the Earth. Or better, in the spiritual world, in Vaikuntha, looking down, looking around at this little corner, little tiny little corner of the universe, of the spiritual sky, and there's all these material universes and solar systems and planets and planet Earth and Kenya and UK and all these devotees in their little tiny flats. It's just yeah, just chill. Don't take it. We can encourage each other. Don't take it too seriously. All of this. Yeah, be responsible, of course. But we're all going to be gone in a flash. Not to be depressing, but it's true. The 67. Now I'm almost 66 materially in March. I am my grandfather. I remember being around my grandfather, with the gray hair. And he had retired, right? I remember. I'm him. And I'm thinking back to when I was with him, 6, 7 years old, elementary school. One time I was in the school in the music. So I was playing that trumpet, with the horn, and it has a mouthpiece. So it was our turn to play, and the mouthpiece got caught in the next boy's shirt. The shirts, they have the slit. It got caught in one. Uh, so all these memories, and then here we hear so quick. It does seem quick, in one sense, college, my first job, and living in the different temples, rendering service, marriage, children. So perspective, I think, that's one thing that we can get from this purport is, how great Krishna is and how big this creation is, right? All of that. So that's when we stop, we can, discuss these things. And there's a lot of perhaps practical questions about this, the intersection of perspectives.
Thank you very much, Prabhuji, for taking us to the moon or to the spiritual world and then glancing down at ourselves on this planet Earth and this small country in a small flat. Prabhuji, it does give us respite to know that we are not this body, but we are the soul, and what our dharma is. But as you said, that we do have to pay our bills and we have to suffer day to day sorrows or happiness, or and in terms of sorrow, of course, we just tolerate it, and then but in the process, will we not become hard-hearted and we'll say, oh, it's okay if it is happening this way, and we will stop reacting to various incidences in the process, becoming hard-hearted, which is opposite of what we should become?
That's a good question, and it definitely happens. It definitely can happen. Oh, why should I give charity to these poor people? That's their karma. Yes, but it's your karma. It's your religious duty to have compassion. That is favorable for your devotion to Krishna. Yes, it's their karma and you can't fix it, but you must care. Not attached, but care. And same for our families. Oh, my wife, they're not their bodies. They're just, why should I worry what they're eating, what clothes they have? There is some truth to that, but this is part of Krishna consciousness, or sattva guna, is balance, and which comes with some maturity, not necessarily years and years, but just understanding that there's two tracks. Yes, my child is an eternal soul, but they just hurt their knee, and they will grow up hard-hearted if I don't give them some loving care and I show some concern. Oh, you hurt your knee. It must hurt so bad. Oh, not nice. Let me fix it. Let me hug you. Let me hold you. Because we know that that will help them to feel valued and feel loved. And at the same time, if depending how old they are, we go, oh, it's a good thing we're not these bodies. Boy, it's not eternal. And we give them spiritual wisdom at the same time. Same with if we can, with our friends, with our parents, with our husband, with our wife. It takes some depth. It does take some maturity, some sadhana. Srila Prabhupada himself writes that or the Vaishnava Acharyas, that in the beginning of Krishna consciousness, there's a tendency to be impersonal because we're first learning about this. We're not these bodies, and I should have nothing to do with material pleasures. Let me not eat anything nice. Let me not cook anything nice for anyone else because we're not these bodies. And why should we try and enjoy these bodies and all these things? And let me not be affectionate to people. So that's kind of natural, but it's not mature. Not mature. We see Srila Prabhupada. Uh, and this, what you say is something you hear that in class or you hear it other places. Someone will say, "Oh, you don't want us to care for people." Who said that? No one said that. I don't know where you got that from, uh, but it's about uh, perspective and wisdom. So we won't be as crying and so many emotions about things. That's true. We will be like a doctor in the emergency room. Just what's to be done? How do we fix it? What do we do? With some warmth, but it is kind of maybe clinical. Like, how come you're not crying? Why aren't you yelling and screaming? I've heard people tell me that. How come you're not all upset? Well, it's like when my house, as I said, my house had burned, my house and car. So why aren't you crying and very upset? And said, well, I am upset and I do feel bad, but what can I do about it? And what's the next thing? I have to call the insurance company. I got to do this, bop, 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 bop. Crying isn't going to help it. I do feel sad, and I did feel a little depressed a little bit, but as we develop sattva guna and wisdom, we care in a sattvic way. That's all. There's caring in ignorance, there's caring in passion, and there's caring in sattva guna. So for someone who is in the lower modes, they will think, oh, you're heartless, you don't care, because they are in the lower modes of nature, and they're very much more focused on the body. Um, but even then, we have to be careful. So Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, as I mentioned before, he advised his disciples sometimes give donations just to keep your heart. Don't get this mentality. It's their karma. No, you should care. You should care, but with wisdom. Does that help? It all becomes realized by our sadhana. That's all. As we read the Gita every day and get the intelligence and we chant, it will be clear. These questions, what to do, what not to do. Um, it's automatic, kind of. But it's a good thing to know that because sometimes people are we're all at different levels. Not everyone is at the same level of maturity and balance, etc. And so they can lean one way or lean the other way. I'm certainly not perfect. I do think I've made some progress in balance. I've made mistakes in prior years. I've seen other people. Does that help?
Yes, Prabhuji, thank you so much. I know we have exhausted our time. Does anybody have any questions before we go on to summarize the session? Prabhuji, we've just changed the format. We have Pramila Mataji who summarizes the session at the end of all the sessions. We just started this. So if there are no questions, I can request Pramila Mataji kindly summarize today's session and end the session. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji and Prabhuji and all. Prabhuji, please correct any errors I may make in this. I'm just trying to echo back some of the things you've told us. And you said, when the sound vibration is so purifying, so when we constantly hear this katha of Krishna, it will purify us. And our intent of serving Krishna begins with the tongue. And service is very effective when we render service to one another. It does attract our attention that someone cares about us. What the motivation behind it might be a bit different, but so the Lord is attracted by seva and bhakti. And when we chant and please our spiritual master, it is pure bhakti. So listening to the scriptures and seva, performing seva has many benefits. So in chapter 5, we hear of the Lord's greatness and his creation, how he expands his different energies in the Mahatattva. And we cannot really count the grains. You give us a lovely example of counting the grains of sand on a beach or the stars in the sky, compared to the millions of planets there are. Our particular planet is very small compared to the universe. And although so small as sparks in the universe, we all have relative strengths. And all these universes are a tiny corner of the eternal spiritual sky. And there are spiritual planets under Brahma Jyoti. So the Lord is described as a jiva, and the Lord as Garbhodakshai Vishnu enters all living entities. And when the world is annihilated, we stay in the Lord's body and we come out again to fulfill our karmic desires. In chapter 3 of the Gita, Krishna tells us that under illusion, we think we are the doer. And excuse me, You give us an example of the two US presidents, Ford and Nixon, how they felt they wanted to become presidents at a very young age. They believed it so strongly. They had fixed goals and they had strong karmas from their past lives. So some people are affected by their past karmas. They don't know what they want in life. And sometimes with our karmas, we identify with a certain character. Now, one of the reasons for Krishna consciousness is to get relief of our distress. We have challenges and happiness due to our past karmas. Everything is happening due to Krishna's will. Now, we are very tiny and we must try to protect others. If it does not work out, we must aim for Krishna, the surrender to Him, and we'll be free from the miseries of life. And you give us a lovely example. I think I've got the name Srila Bhaktivedanta. I think so. Please correct me if I'm wrong. Who had lots of illness. Bhaktivedanta. Thank you. Lots of illness. Then Charan had a job, but in his prayers he pleads and glorifies to Krishna, and he glorifies Krishna, and his sorrows diminish. So where there is a higher consciousness within us, and so Krishna says, surrender to me, I will relieve your suffering, and you will come to me. And you told us about Harinam, which will give us happiness and solace. And we can feel a deep connection and reach God when we do things like pilgrimage, visit holy places. And sometimes we need to spend some time alone, focusing on Krishna. And we are so blessed by great sages, mentors, senior devotees like yourself as well, Prabhuji, and this class of wonderful devotees who participate daily. So we gather together to feel Krishna. And you give us examples of the gopis when they gather to talk about Krishna. So Krishna Katha is our shelter, and we need to tolerate certain conditions. Just let it be and focus on Krishna and devotional service. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Please correct any errors I make because this is being recorded. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Pramila Mataji, for summarizing today's session. And I will now ask Arya Govind Prabhu, kindly please close this session. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Mataji. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Mataji summed up almost each and every thing, told by Prabhuji. So I'll not take much time. Thank you so much, Prabhuji, once again for this wonderful session. Although, we are going into deeper levels of creation, and then we know how insignificant we are against this vast universe. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. I request everyone to unmute and then chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra once in glorification of His grace. Dina Prabhu. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha manam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Srila Prabhupada Jai. His Grace Dina Prabhu ki Jai.
I wish everyone another good week on this ship back home, back to Godhead on this boat, right, of Srimad Bhagavatam. It is our boat, and we can hopefully pass another week in enthusiasm, and we will meet again. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Thank you.